Hello there, Simon Craig here, and today I'm looking at making some shoulder armour. This is a Pauldron, sometimes known as a Spaulder, and I've made this from EVA foam. Now, until now I've used my heat gun glue for almost everything when I've been making cosplay kits. That's because it's quick and it's easy. However, today I'm looking at using contact adhesive. I found this very useful. It gives a far tidier join, and when the foam doesn't quite want to really do it, and I've been using tape to hold it in place, you can get away with not using tape and not marking the surface of your foam. The Pauldron is a good idea if you're starting out in making cosplay armour. It's a good way of practicing. It doesn't use up very much of your foam if you get it wrong. With the contact adhesive, it did take me 1 or 2 goes to get it straight. So if you want to do a helmet, I'd suggest you do 1 or 2 of these first. Today I'll show you how to put together the foam to make a Pauldron. Here we have my pattern. This, as you can see, says front left. So this is the part that goes there. From here you can turn it round and you can have a back, or turn it round and have a front right, and so back to the first face again for a back right. This pattern I have drawn for you on a squared paper here. There's a link below to a PDF file. The squares are 1/2 centimetre across, and I've marked in boulder marks every 5 centimetres so that you can copy it onto squared paper, or if you have the technology you can print it out. Make sure you get your printer settings correct and print it out to the exact size. Then cut it out. The important line is this curve here. If you get this curve here wrong, things like this happen. It's not pretty. You might want some shoulder armour like that. If you have the curve too curvy. These V's here are cut into the pattern. They're important for later. This is quite a simple pattern, so I don't think we need to pin it to the foam. I'm putting it to the front of the foam this time. You'll see why later. And I'm drawing round with a soft pen. I'm using a metallic pen. That means you don't leave any grooves in the foam. Make sure you draw into these little V's. Notice on the back half, I'm making it bigger than the pattern. You've got quite a bit of leeway here. On the back, you can go much higher up and not interfere with the neck or the arms. This one, I've actually got 2 fronts. This allows me to wear this on either shoulder. If you want them to lie on either shoulder, stick to this pattern for both sides. Once you've drawn your pattern, cut it out. These V's this time go straight past them. Do not cut into the V's. The V's are just marks for later. For this one I'm making, I've got a front here and I've got a back here. And I've cut that back quite a bit bigger. There's room for even more than that. Now then, the heat foam. In the past, what I used to do is try to force it over my knee or a bowl shape. But I've found that once I've heated it up with the heat gun, forcing it over something smaller, I've happened to have this on the top of the chair. And this allows it to be forced to curve a lot more. If you don't have chairs like this, perhaps the head of a broom trunk will do. This is getting quite hot now. If you bend it too much, it'll unbend later on. I think that's quite well curved there. Right then, now it's for the gluing. I'll take each piece. I'm using cheap contact adhesive from one of the cheapest outlets in the UK. I think this was £2. And I put this along here and I make sure it's on nice and thickly. With the heat gun method, I needed to sand it down to key the foam first. However, with impact, no, don't use impact cement. With contact adhesive, it soaks in, so it doesn't need to be keyed. Now make sure you've got it nice and gungy all over your surface. I go along once and then I go back over and make sure everywhere is covered. Nice and quite thickly. It runs smoothly over there. Then I use a piece of scrap foam and wipe off any excess. You don't want any gunge left on there. And on with the second one. Gunge, nice and thickly on there. That is thickly on there. Yeah. And as before, take off all of the excess. Yes, it gets on my fingers. Now we've got these both prepared, we'll leave this for 5 minutes. Right, I've got my two halves. I've been away for 5 minutes. A bit longer, doesn't matter, half an hour. It still seems to work. It's now not very tacky. If you think you've gone for too long, then you can always add another coat. So here we are. Now I've got my marks. I'm going to start at the end and stick them together. Slowly does it. Slowly does it. I'm going to keep the surface as flat as I can, and I'm going to make the V's match up. That's what they're for. I'm going to make the V's match up, mind. They're not going to do any of this wandering. It's foam, so it does have a bit of give. Now then, once they're together, they should stay together. Now this join is a lot neater than my quick and easy glue gun join. The glue gun join still has a place, but this join is a lot neater. I see my edge didn't quite meet at the far end, but that's because I didn't cut it out very straight. I can tidy that up with my knife. Now I'm going to leave this for a good while before I interfere with that seam anymore. So now we see that I was drawing on the top half so that we could see the little marks on the V's as they match up on the smooth surface. So in the meantime, what I can do is add the clips for this strap. Normally I've been using plastic clips, but this time I've used a double D-ring. That's the old-fashioned way of doing it. My webbing goes through the two D's and doubles back and goes through the 1D again, the second D. Then when it's pulled tight, it pulls tight. These were stuck on with back to the heat gun glue. First of all, I'm going to sand down the insides when I'm going to attach these. I'm just using a pan scrubber. It's to make sure that there's a rough surface for the heat gun glue to attach. I'm going to attach them quite low on this part where it's wider, because I want this to come out as low as possible, so that it straps under my arm without pulling. At least 4 inches of webbing. This is 25mm webbing. Then I put 2 D-rings over the top. With my heat gun glue, I can glue these together. I'm not gluing right up to the edge, so they do have some movement. Here we have my heat glue gun. I've got to admit that the smaller the better with the heat glue guns, because when you get it on your fingers, it's better if you only get a little bit on your fingers, then it hurts a little bit less. Squirt it all over the inside. And join the 2 halves together. Then under here, I'm going to line this up here so that there's enough room for the webbing to double back and not to poke out looking too messy. Glue on the back of this tab of material, quite a lot of glue. Squidge it into place. And then go around the edge. So now we have the basics here. I've used this piece of webbing here. It's about 90 centimeters or 35 centimeters. I'm a bit skinny and a lot of people will need a longer one. This goes in here and back out here. And on the other side, I do the same again. Under through them both, back over one, and here we have the basics of a pauldron, or a Pauldron shoulder armour to you and I. The glue gun method does leave a sort of metal welded sort of look to it, and the contact adhesive leaves a lot tidier join. I have got an old belt with no buckle on it, and I use that instead of the webbing strap to make it look more medieval. This kind of worked surprisingly well, although the leather belt doesn't have as much give as the webbing, so it may go to get the glue fixing a bit more. And it doesn't have that tautness that the D-rings apparently rely on, although I never found any problem with that myself. Back to this one. If you want to add spikes and so on, these are easily just glued on. If you want to paint it up like this, I'll do a video shortly. I've also got videos about painting with Plasticoat and Plastidip. You might even like more of my videos. Check out my channel. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have more videos on my channel about places I go and things I build. If you do enjoy my videos, please click subscribe, and then YouTube should tell you when I bring new ones out.
Thank you. Goodbye.